Live from the Counterpunch Media Mobile Studios in Grand Blanc, Michigan, it's time for real lives, real families, real fitness. It's time for Derek Noel Fitness.
What is going on, everyone? Derek is back. That's right, I am back. It is a new year. Hopefully everyone enjoyed their new year. I know I did. It was a nice time to kind of hang out, relax, recharge a little bit, and get some other stuff done. So we have been kind of busy here. We got some things going on. And the first episode that I wanted to make of the year is how to crush it in 2020. And I'm not just talking from a health standpoint. I'm not just talking from a nutrition or a working out standpoint. Thinking all-inclusive here. So just some different things that you can do to make sure that you really set yourself apart and make 2020 the best year for you. I'm going to try really hard to avoid making some really terrible jokes about 2020 in hindsight. I could let you, now that I said that, you probably said them all in your head already because none of them are very good. But, you know, that's okay. This is episode 33, by the way. We're kind of chugging along in these episodes. We're having a good time. And just in case you've missed it, the past few shows we've done were kind of like our 2019 wrap-up show, series of shows where we talked about what the trends were and what we think they are, and then what I thought they were going to be. That was the last episode, is what I thought the trends in 2020 were going to be. And now we're in 2020, so we're going to see if those get to come true or not. But it's going to be really good. Real quick, if you are watching, if you could give this video a share onto your timeline on Facebook, or send, if you're watching on YouTube, send the YouTube link over to a friend who you think might be able to implement one or two of these things that we're talking about. It's going to be a really good idea if you do that. On top of that, remember, we do also have our phone line available, which is going to be opening up soon. The graphic will be popping up in a little bit when we're actually ready to open up the phone lines so that you can go ahead and call. Again, if you would like, share this stuff, give it a like. One of the things that I would like to do, that I'm going to be talking about goals later, is my goal is to, by the end of this year, have this Derek Noel Fitness Facebook page with over 1,000 likes, so 1,000 fans. That would be awesome. I'm at 424 as of about 10 minutes ago, so 500 in a year. I think I could probably crush this pretty well. Who knows? Maybe more. So if you know of anyone who would just enjoy this page in general, with 2020, there's going to be a lot more content coming your way. I have a few things in the works that I'm going to be releasing soon. But let's go ahead and get this on the road. We're going to have a good time. By the way, if you're watching, go ahead and drop a line. Let me know that you're actually watching. I would appreciate it. Maybe I'll give you a shout out. Who knows? Or, as always, when I am talking about all these things, drop your question in the comments. Or you can send them via message, whatever you need to do to get them to me. Dropping them in the feed so everyone else can see them is a pretty cool thing to do, though. So feel free to drop them in if you'd like some clarification on anything I'm saying, or maybe a suggestion. As long as it's not something super in-depth, I could probably answer it now. Otherwise, I could send you a message later about how I would approach a certain situation. But Derek Noel Fitness, going to be crushing it in 2020. Let's bring you along for the road. So I kind of broke this down into 3 different things. And again, the first one is going to be kind of all-encompassing lifestyle and what you tell yourself. So it's mindset. The second one is going to be how we should be handling our nutrition. The third one is going to be workouts. And then I have a kind of side thing for goals at the end. And I feel like it's going to be a really good way to do that. Heidi says, of course, she's actually watching. She always does. But mindset in 2020 is going to be very big, especially if you want to set yourself up for success. The biggest thing that I've seen in coaching people is people don't like to take responsibility for their actions. They don't enjoy the feeling of holding themselves accountable because that means that something actually should change. It's something called victim mentality, where everything is everyone else's fault that something has happened, when in reality there are a lot of things that you as people can do, or we as people can do, to mitigate negative things from happening, or even looking at it from our perspective, where if someone is doing something bad, I really like an example that I actually heard a long time ago from Dr. Andy Galpin on another podcast, Barbell Shrugged. It's the Barbell Collective now, but he was talking about how he was living with his brother, and his brother left dishes in the sink when they were living together, and it was one of the biggest pet peeves that Andy Galpin had at the time, was leaving dirty dishes in. So he would just always get upset and get mad that his brother would leave these dishes in the sink. But one day he finally just asked him, instead of getting mad, he just asked his brother why he kept leaving these dishes in the sink. And his brother said that he didn't get home and get to and eat anything until 1 o'clock in the morning, and he didn't want to wake Andy up at 1 o'clock in the morning because he was washing dishes. And that was a really eye-opening moment for Andy, where he realized that perspective does matter. So if someone is doing something that's driving you insane, number one thing is going to be, don't assume that they are doing it on purpose, unless you know for a 100% fact that they are. Otherwise, don't be that paranoid. Chances are people just don't realize something, or they might have a very good reason that you didn't even think of for doing something. It's going to be really big, and part of that falls into the victim mentality of assuming people are out to get you. If you stop being super defensive, it'll allow you, and reactive, it'll allow you to be proactive and be able to take control of the situations you are in. And that's learning how to say no to certain things. That's maybe learning how to say yes to things that you've never thought of saying yes to before in your life, because it might be a learning experience, or because you were just scared that it's something new. So trying to figure out where we can go from that is going to be really big. And a really good way to pick up on these things is to participate in some self-learning. Not just learning about yourself, but taking control of your own education, because really education should not stop once you are done with school. You should constantly be learning some different things. So if you were looking to get started, find a book. I really love audiobooks. I'm not patient enough to sit down and flip through books that often anymore, but I can listen to an audiobook all the time. I just literally listen to them, or I listen to podcasts, and I try and listen to like every single episode of a podcast to become an expert in it as I'm driving. I have a 15-minute drive one way, so that's 30 minutes a day that I can be spending learning, and that's a lot more than most people do. So make sure that you're trying to figure it out. It doesn't necessarily have to be health and fitness. It doesn't even really have to be mindset. If you're trying to figure out some business stuff, listening to something like Gary Vee or Barbell Business, if you're in the fitness business industry, or any regular business or finance things to help level yourself up in certain situations, is going to be a really big way to go. And now that enough time has gone by, we're actually going to pop up the screen real quick with our phone number on it. For those listening, the number is 810-412-5999. Again, that is 810-412-5999. You might need to put a +1 depending on where you're calling from. But the phone lines are now open. So if you'd like to call in and discuss any of these things that we're talking about, feel free. And again, you can always drop a line in the comments. I'm consistently looking at that as well. So once you've learned how to, or even learned to start listening and not just, staying with what you've constantly been doing or not doing, going outside your comfort zone, finding a podcast to listen to that you may or may not enjoy, because, for example, I'm not going to recommend that every single person listens to the Jocko podcast with Jocko Willink. It's just not for some people. Other people might fit better with Jill Coleman's Better Life podcast or something like that. The third thing I'm going to say is don't negotiate with yourself, period. Negotiating with yourself is basically setting yourself up for mediocrity. If you're going to settle for something with yourself, that's a no-go. Aim big and just go out of your way to make it happen. Will there be roadblocks? Yes, but we learn from them. Just remember, there's more than one way. You don't have to go through the wall. You can climb over it. You can go around it. You can go under it. There are plenty of different ways to attack situations. Figure out which one works best, and really think about going after it. So when it comes to mindset, just remember, it's all about what goes on in here. That positive self-talk and those things, the situations, the scenarios that go on in your head largely dictate how successful you are with everything else, which is why I wanted to talk about it first. So make sure your head's in the right spot. If you need help with some resources, feel free to shoot me a message. I'm not an expert in it. In certain situations, you know, you might need some more specific help, and I'm not that specific help for that. But just keeping it moving. The second thing I would want to talk about is nutrition. How can you crush it in nutrition in 2020? The number one thing is forget about every single fad diet you have ever thought about doing. A lot of people think that they have a lot of success doing things like Whole30, or they have a lot of success on keto, or they have a lot of success on paleo, or you throw whatever you want in, intermittent fasting or anything like that. They tell me, I've lost a lot of weight doing this, but then I quit because I got the results. Well, what happened when you got those results? Did it come back? Chances are probably yes. And it's not sustainable. You quit because you thought you'd achieve the desired result. You didn't have to do it anymore. Figure out what you can do sustainably. Figure out how you can live your life and live with your nutrition and what you're eating, and get your eating habits in check. That it's not something that you're just going to quit doing once you lose your 5 or 10 pounds or whatever it is. Or in my case, it's about to be 15 because the holidays were very, very good to me. Just figure out what's going to work for you long term. If you can do intermittent fasting or keto super long term, I'm not going to tell you no, especially because a lot of you aren't my specific nutrition clients. But I'm not a big fan of those because it's really, really, really hard to do over a long period of time. So why are we wasting our time trying to figure out how to make that happen when there are plenty of other options that are way easier and will also get you the results that you can choose from? Once you figure out what you can do sustainably, start to learn. Here's this whole thing. This is going to be the whole process. 2020 is about learning, by the way. That's what the word is probably going to be at the end of the year when I do a wrap up. Learn about what different things do in the body. Learn why carbohydrates are not the devil. Learn why sugar is not the devil. Why flour is not the devil. Why fats are not the devil. The whole resurgence of, oh, the cholesterol in eggs is bad for you is ridiculous. But that's because the media just takes one thing and runs with it because it'll get the most clicks or it'll get the most views, which makes them the most money. They don't really care about accurate information these days. So make sure that you are getting that good information from reliable sources. Learn what things actually do so that you can call out the bull crap that's being spewed, especially this time of year on Instagram with everyone trying to sell you on everything. Research the products and don't just take someone's word for it, especially on Instagram. Just a quick reminder, marketing products, that is all you see. You see marketing teams selling products. That's what they want you to see. They don't show you what they don't want you to see. So like the fact that a certain MLM shake claims to have super greens or superfoods or whatever, and it's like barely like 5 grams, which you can fit on your finger. Yeah, okay, that's way better than just eating like a single leaf of spinach, for example. So keep your eye out for those things. Remember, take everything with a grain of salt. Don't assume that some miracle product is just going to work, because chances are it is not. Before we move on, we are going to take a quick little break.
You're listening to Derek Noel Fitness here on IPMNation.com/counterpunch. He'll bring the smarts. Now the sweat, well, that's up to you.
And we're back. So I just wrapped up nutrition. For those listening, or for those just tuning in, we're talking about how to crush it in 2020. I am being intentionally kind of broad here, but that's because the bigger ideas are the way more important takeaway than the small details in this show today. So with the mindset, just make sure that you are taking control of what's going on in your head. Don't tell yourself you can't help it. You really can. If you need some help with it, get that help. It's okay to ask for help with things. Make sure you embrace that. With nutrition, don't fall for the BS that is everywhere right now. Find yourself some information, or if you need help, with some coaching, drop that in. In terms of learning, I just received my Nutritional Coaching Institute Level 1 Nutrition Coaching Certification, which I'm super pumped about. I actually got it in my mail 2 days ago, so I'm really excited for that. That's how I'm learning. I'm going to try and become certified in more things and just keep it going, because the more I know, the more I can help, and that's my big mission, is just to be able to help people. The third topic is working out, or that fitness part. So we're going to crush it in our fitness in 2020. I'm going to start off by saying don't bite off more than you can chew. If you've never worked out before in your life, your chances are your strength goals are going to be there. But if you already have a nice, decent base of strength, for example, there's probably no way you're going to add 300 pounds to your deadlift in a year, basically no matter who you are. That's something that builds up, but you can definitely add, so make it a more long-term goal of that. Just don't bite off more than you can chew. If you are new to this whole working out and eating right thing, or you're trying to get yourself back on track, even if you've done it before, do not jump into everything all at the same time. You are going to spread yourself too thin. Your body hates change. You already made the change to lay back a little bit, to pump the brakes a little bit. If you try and just go, your body's going to start to wonder what's going on, and chances are you're not going to be able to stick with it because you're going to get overwhelmed. Let's not get overwhelmed. So what does that mean in terms of nutrition? Start with one eating habit a day, or one eating habit a week, really. For working out, start by saying 3 days is fine. 3 days working out a week, honestly, is fantastic. You might even be able to go down to 2 as long as you're hitting your entire body, because we do want to make sure our entire body is getting worked. Challenge yourself. Don't just go through the motions. If you're just going through the motions, you're not really going to make that much progress. Your body doesn't like change, and if it doesn't have to exert itself, it's not going to change. So keep that in mind. You need to make sure your body is exerting itself a little bit, whether that's running 2 seconds faster if you're a runner, or whether it's lifting 5 more pounds in a big lift. Those are the things that's going to get you there. And if you're not used to doing exercises, or you don't like exercises because you're really not good at them, get comfortable not being good at them. That way you can just do them and get that negative thought out of your head, going back to mindset, get that crap out of your head, because that's how you grow. Think of it as you're searching out those things that you are bad at to become better at them. Because guess what? When you become better at them, they are no longer a weakness. They're no longer something you're bad at, so they're nothing to fear anymore. Nothing to be scared about trying to do. That's how you grow. That's how you get better. That's how your body is going to adapt. Keep that mindset going. Please do not fall into the process of overtraining, thinking you could just work out more and eat less, because while it will work short term, I'm not saying it won't work, it will work short term, but in the long term you're going to crash and burn really hard. Your body's going to be more likely to get injured, especially if you're not replenishing it, and that's why it is always said that nutrition will do most of the heavy lifting. Nutrition is 80%. If you want abs, it's all nutrition. It's barely the working out part. I know plenty of people with six-packs that don't really work out that often just because they can watch what they eat. So keep that in mind. Once you're there, then you can step into it 4 days a week, 5 days a week. You still want a couple rest days because, again, we don't want to overdo it because it's all about sustainability. Learn how your muscles work, and that's going to become a more effective workout for you, because if you can understand, for example, that the pec is responsible for pulling things across your body, all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh, when I'm doing a chest fly, I want to make sure that I feel that muscle squeezing, that pec squeezing, because if you just feel it all in your shoulder, or your chest isn't doing anything, oh, hey, we're not working the muscles we're supposed to do. Again, it's that learning. You don't necessarily have to learn what every single muscle is, but knowing what your bicep is or your tricep is always a good thing. Or knowing that your delts are your shoulders, or your quads are the fronts of your legs. Those basic big movements, big muscles, are going to be really easy. And then, because they're all responsible generally for pushing and pulling. So start to learn what some of them are. Don't just blow it off, because the more you know, the more effective you'll be able to communicate. And especially if you have a coach, if you can tell them specifically that like the inside of your quad is kind of hurting that day, then they can lay off. You can say the inside of like the front part of my leg, but just for communication's sake, especially if you're trying to say things in a few words because you're in the middle of your rest break and you need to get right back to work, those things are really going to help out. Plus, if you learn the name of the muscle, you're probably going to learn what they do as well. So keep that in mind. The last thing I want to talk about is goals, and I've done at least 2 episodes talking about goals in general, so I don't really want to jump into it super deep, but have a goal for every facet of life. The last time I talked about this, I talked about the SMART method. You can always go back and find that episode. I want to say it was probably in like September or October that we did that episode about goals. Of course, you can find it on YouTube. It's literally called Setting Goals or something like that. Have a goal for every facet of life. Don't just settle for one thing. Have a family goal. Have a goal to spend so much time with your family. Have a business goal if you own a business or if you're working. Have a life goal for what you want to actually do with your life. Have a nutrition goal. Have a workout goal. Have a financial goal. Have a mindset goal. And start big with these ideas and start to work smaller. So for example, with your nutrition, if you really want to be able to lose some weight, one thing that's going to hinder people that is just, it was New Year's Eve just last week. Actually, yeah, about, what is today, the 5th? Something like that? Yeah, 5 days ago. This is, for those listening back, this was recorded on, I believe, January 5th. My days might be all messed up. It's the Sunday after New Year's. Alcohol is a really big factor on whether or not your body is going to lose weight. Number one, it stops, and the numbers are ridiculous when it comes to this, but alcohol consumption stops your body's processing of carbohydrates almost completely, and fats as well. Fats a little bit less, but and protein it really hinders too. So when you're drinking alcohol, it's not burning anything else because it wants to get that out, and then those things, and remember, alcohol is still also calories, so it's basically automatically going to throw you into calorie surplus, even if you make the excuse for yourself that clear liquors they don't have any sugar, they don't have any carbs, it's just the alcohol, so it's a really clean thing. There's still calories there, they still count. It doesn't really matter what justification you have. If you're drinking a lot of it, it's going to make a difference. Plus, alcohol messes with you, it dehydrates you, and hydration is really big as well. Not that I don't indulge in an alcoholic beverage every so often, but if you're drinking it every day, for example, then you're really going to start to run into issues from nutrition, and there's really not much you can do otherwise. So keep that in mind. Working out, have that nice goal. Have a strength goal. Have a fitness goal. You want to be able to run a 5K without stopping or breathing, or a half marathon or something like that. Financial goal, you want to make $3,000 more a year or something like that. Pick something, roll with it. I don't know what your situation is. These are going to be highly individual to everyone's situation. So again, just start big, start to move smaller, break each one down until you have a small, super obtainable goal, because that's how you start to build that momentum. And honestly, setting goals and achieving goals is a momentum game. If you try and go big from nothing, you're going to have a really hard time getting there. But if you have that big one and you have a goal to get, basically to step your way down, then you can work your way up, and it's basically just those steps. Each time you achieve something, you're just one step closer to that big goal, one step closer, then all of a sudden you're there, and who knows, you might get there faster than you thought you did. Or you might hit some roadblocks and have to knock yourself back down a couple pegs to go back up. The important thing is you don't get discouraged, you keep your mind right, you look at every single thing as a learning opportunity to be able to crush it in 2020. I don't exactly know how much time we have left. We have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to drop down in. We don't have any phone calls. Hey Kenny, what's going on, man? I miss seeing you around. Shoot me a message. I want to know how it's going with you, because I know you moved. Ariel, how's it going? Marcy, thank you. That nutrition certification was definitely super in depth. So we're just keeping it rolling. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them. You can always give us a phone call at 810-412-5999. So actually, some things that you could look forward to from Derek Noel Fitness is, on top of more of these shows, I am going to start recording probably in a couple weeks here some different videos for forum videos, and I'd like to start releasing a little bit of more short-term content, so shorter videos besides these 30-minute ones. Some of them are going to be broken down and just kind of snippet it out in case people miss things in my previous episodes. I do have quite the library, so keep an eye out for that on the socials. I got some pictures coming out soon. And my big goal for 2020 is to just provide value for everyone. If I can teach people things, if I can get people to see things where it'll be able to help them out, that's my goal. My goal is to be able to just give as much value as I possibly can to every single person that I interact with. Whether you are paying me or not, honestly, it doesn't really matter, because my mission is to have that impact to be able to get you to achieve your goals. If that's something you're interested in, please shoot me a message. I would love to be able to help you out or answer any questions. That's what I am here for. If there are no comments, no questions or anything like that, I think we're actually going to wrap this up a little early. So if you would, if you could, real quick, I know I mentioned it at the beginning of the show, give this video a share. I would really appreciate that. If you could find the YouTube link, which I posted earlier, if you could click on that and subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would help us out a lot. Growing YouTube is also going to be a big thing here. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/TheDerekNoel, on Counterpunch, COUNTERPUNCH, like the boxing term. Or you can find this video actually, on IPMNation.com/DNF. Hopefully everybody has a great night. Hopefully this helps you get your mind right, because those ideas, and make sure, one last thing is, make sure you execute. Do not spend so long thinking about it that you don't actually do it. Messy action. Do the action, refine it later. It's almost like ready, fire, aim. Just start shooting, and then as you start shooting, you're going to get closer to the target. That's how it works with this stuff. So make sure you do that. If you have anything, please shoot a message to me. Drop it in the comments below. I always check those. And have a great night, everyone.